It's Reverend Ahmondra coming to you from the place where the queens always speak their truth. Over the last several months, I have been counseling with individuals and meeting with groups, and they all are expressing so much anxiety, so much personal conflict about what they're experiencing in their world. And I've been blessed to be in many different situations where I've learned so much wisdom and knowledge from individuals who have devoted their life to creating peace and harmony and mindfulness inside of their world. And I want to share those techniques and practices and tools with you. And so I decided to come up with 5 simple steps that could help us create peace of mind and strengthen our mental health. I believe in simple, not difficult, not long, but simple. So over the course of a month, I am going to be delivering a 5-part series on creating peace of mind and strengthening your mental health. You will be able to listen to step 1 through step 5 and gain some insight on what keeps us from having a peace of mind. It's not difficult, but it's not something that we learn in school, nor is it something that we learn in life unless we are seeking that information out. So join me and see how these steps can be applied in your life to help you create the kind of world that you cherish and you want to live in every single day. Step 3 in our series is all about forgiveness, the power of forgiveness in creating peace of mind and mental health. Today, I want to have a conversation that we very seldom have. Black women carry a lot of pain inside, and we carry that pain because of what happens to us from the time we're little girls. Little black girls aren't safe in their world. Our brothers molest us, our cousins molest us, our uncles molest us, our mother's boyfriends molest us, people in the neighborhood molest us. We suffer and we never talk about it because we have to keep moving. That is what we are trained to do. When I was writing my book, I wasn't surprised to hear sisters tell me that they had been molested as little girls. They had been raped inside of a relationship, and they carried that pain deep within. When my stepfather violated me and I told my best friend, she made me tell my mother. The abuse didn't continue. But I didn't feel safe in my home. I was fortunate because I learned about the tool of forgiveness. But I didn't learn it until I was in my 30s. By then, I had suffered sexual violation, domestic violence, rape inside a relationship, and I was an angry woman. I was angry because I had so much pain. We very seldom talk about forgiveness as a practice or as a tool. Well, today I'm going to talk about how we can begin to relieve that pain and what it is doing to us. But first, I want to share with you what happens when you don't forgive, when you just constantly are living inside of pain and anger. It depletes our energy. It robs us of our vitality. It causes physical illnesses within our body. We suffer with high blood pressure, heart attack, living with unresolved pain. Also keeps us in a mental state of chaos. And many times we end up taking medication because we believe it's a physical symptom, but it actually is an emotional symptom that has created a physiological effect in our body. The beauty of Black women is that we keep going and we make impacts in the world and we help others. All the while, we are suffering inside. But we now have an opportunity to relieve that suffering. First, you have to recognize that it's even there. Some of us have not spoken about what happened to us ever to anybody, or we've only told one person in our life. And I'm not saying you have to go out and tell anyone. I'm saying you have to bring it up out of you to the surface in your own world. And you have to look at it and you have to face it. Why? Because when you bring it up and you face it, you can use the tool of forgiveness to release it and let it go. So you say, why should I even do that? It's not bothering me in the conscious mind, but it's there in our unconscious. It is impacting your body. But because we are so used to performing and going and doing what we need to do in spite of how we're feeling, we don't allow it to get in our way. So, what does the tool of forgiveness do? The tool of forgiveness is like a release valve on a pressure cooker where you allow the pressure to release in a controlled way. I grew up in a household with a stepfather and then in my father's household with a stepmother. And both of these individuals caused much pain and anguish in my young life. And I could never say anything about it because I'm a child. You accept what the adults in your life do and you keep moving forward. But when I became an adult and I stepped into recovery, I needed to find out why was I using this substance every single day. It was masking pain. And when I uncovered where this pain originated from, I stepped into a place where I could either not forgive them and continue to hold on to that and run the risk of having to use something to suppress that pain, or I could forgive them and let it go. See, forgiveness doesn't mean that you forget. Forgiveness is a release for you. Like I said, that release valve on that pressure cooker, when you bring forgiveness in your life, you begin to release the pressure. You release the anger, the resentment that you have towards an individual. They're no longer living in your mind rent free, and it brings you a sense of peace. Forgiveness also brings a sense of self compassion because a lot of times we are angry at ourselves and we have to forgive ourselves because situations occur and we blame ourselves for putting ourselves in that situation, or we blame ourselves because we should have done something else to protect us. Forgiving ourselves also allows us to create well being in our world. When I forgave my stepfather and I forgave my stepmother, I began to see them as individuals who had their own pain and anguish inside, and they were putting it out into the world. And I just happened to be one of those people that their pain and anguish fell upon. All of us have had experiences that caused us pain. But when you bring this practice of forgiveness, and I'm calling it mindful forgiveness, meaning that you are consciously making a choice to forgive this person, not forget what they did, not excuse what they did, but to forgive them. Let it go so that you could move on. Because when you don't forgive and you hold anger and animosity, it's like you're drinking poison to hurt someone else. That poison is only killing you. Now, there's another aspect of forgiveness that I want to talk about. Being a black woman in this country, I had to forgive this society for the pain and anguish that it caused in my life. Because growing up as a black woman in this country, we experienced hatred, animosity, abuse of all kinds. And many times we have to take it. We don't have the luxury all the time to stop and check someone when they're being abusive to us. I literally sat down and wrote a letter to the United States of America forgiving this country for all that it has done to me as a black woman. I had to forgive, not forget, so that I could move forward and so that I could get a voice. Because, see, when you don't forgive, you don't have a voice. But when you forgive and you let it go, something miraculous happens. You start speaking with an active voice. You begin to stop abuse in its tracks because you have a voice. When you begin to use the tool of forgiveness on a daily basis, you create a sense of calmness and peace within. Forgiveness allows you to release people that you've been holding hostage in your head and to stand firmly in the present. When they're no longer being held as hostages, you have so much more energy to devote to yourself. I invite you to sit down and write down those times where you were hurt and then forgive that person. You don't have to say anything to anyone unless you choose to. This is for you to begin to have more peace of mind, to have more energy within. Forgiveness is not something that you practice one time and it's done. It may take you a while to forgive someone, but you just keep working at it over and over until one day you will say, oh my goodness, I no longer hate that person. Even if the person is no longer on this planet, write a letter to them. Say, I forgive you and I release you. Forgiveness can be like a miracle cure for depression, anxiety, low self esteem, a myriad of emotions that we're feeling. Just try it out. I guarantee it won't hurt you, but it just might help you. Teach young women how to use the tool of forgiveness. See, we make assumptions that people are okay because they're not saying anything or they're performing in a certain way. I was always a high achiever, and no one ever knew anything was happening on the inside of me because I hid it and I hid it well. I say to you, bring this conversation to them about forgiveness. Share with them your own experiences about pain and anguish. I remember the most powerful gift that I gave to one of my great nieces when I saw her stepping into a relationship where there was physical abuse was my story. After she heard my story about leaving a marriage where there was domestic violence inside of it, she ended that abusive relationship and stepped into another relationship where that was not present. I gave her permission to do something different. I say that it's time for us to reclaim our peace of mind, stand on our throne as the queens that we are by releasing all of those individuals that we've been dragging around with us for years. Let them go so that we can move forward and move forward powerfully. Send this particular video out to your friends about forgiveness because you never know if this message will allow someone to free themselves from a prison that they have been living in most of their lives. Freedom comes in the form of forgiveness. Thank you for watching today. I hope you got something out of this message of forgiveness. It's a tool that we could use to free ourselves from past hurt. Pick up a copy of my book, The Uncrowned Queen Reclaims Her Throne When a Black Woman Breaks the Silence. It is a story that talks about forgiveness and pain. And the journal is a place that allows us to begin to step back into who we are as these powerful queens. And before you leave the channel, take a moment to answer the question that I put in the comments. Join me next week for step 4, where we talk about keeping track of your thoughts and emotions. Bless.